Jai Hind students, welcome to the future of learning. In this class, we are going to deal with the topic Java. So the first topic is that elementary concept of object. Let's begin the topic. So in this session, we are going to deal or we are going to discuss the future or the properties of object. Now let's start the topic. What is object? The first topic is that what is object? Object is a fundamental unit of object-oriented programming. So what is object-oriented programming? We have studied that object-oriented programming generally going to deal with focus on the data. Okay. So now in this class we everybody know that object oriented programming includes C++ and Java. So in this session we will see that how object is a fundamental unit of object oriented programming. Now so object is going to represent the real life entities. So now this is a real life entities now. So this object is going to represent the real life entities. So now in the object oriented programming, the attempts are made to break a task into some components. So we'll see that while developing the program, we will see that we are going to break a task into some component. We are going to break the task into some component, and that component is called object. They are the basic element of the object oriented system. Now we'll see that this object are the basic element. We right now study that object is the fundamental unit of the program now. So now in this case we can see that the attempts are made to make the task, means attempt the task or to make the program into sub component, and that is called object. So now they are the basic, we are talking about that the object are the basic element of object oriented system and are known as entities. Now, after we will see that a set of related objects exchange data and information to each other. So while developing to the program, we will see that suppose the object has some connections with other objects. So we will see that they can exchange the data and information in order to interact with each other. So now in this session, we will see that the object can be further categorized into two ways. So first one is the real world object and the second one is software object. Now, what is real world object? So it can be an interesting question that what is a real world object? So now a real world object are those which we experience or use in our day-to-day lives. Yes. So now these objects are those, means you can say that the real world objects are those which we experience or use. Look here, this experience in this speaker is used by us now. So now these objects are generally used in our day-to-day lives. So now a specific item can be defined as a real world object. Now look here, suppose if you see that how we can define or how we can say that this object is a real world object. So we are going to have three conditions. We are going to have three conditions. First condition that it must be visible to us. First one is that it must be visible to us, and the second one is that it has a definite shape and size. So look here, this object is visible to us now. Yes, this object is visible to us, and also similar that it has a definite shape and size. And the last one is that it can be brought in our thoughts and minds. Means if we can imagine the object. It is saying that it can be brought into thoughts and figure. It can be brought into thoughts and figure. So up to here we studied that what is object and how we can say that the real object are. Now look here, this tiger is the example of object, cycle are the example of object, and the car and the clocks. So we have studied that what is real all object means what we experience or use in our day-to-day life. So look here, these are the things we generally use in our day-to-day life. Now each real world object has or contains characteristic and the behavior. So we are focusing on the term that is what is characteristic and what is behavior. So look here, characteristic basically comprises the parts of its body and a specification. Look students, this characteristic means we are talking about the specification. We are talking about its body part. We are talking about its body part. So these are the characteristic. These are the characteristic of a real world object. And whereas the behavior is the purpose of its use and its function. Means we are talking about what is the clock. What is the purpose of the clock? Purpose means we are talking it shows the time. So time is the function that is shown by the real world object clock. Okay. Now after that we will take the example of a mobile phone or cell phone, we can say. So cell phone can be defined as a real world object if it possesses some characteristic and the behavior. So right now we studied now what is the characteristic means we are talking about its specification. What is the behaviors means what are the functions performed by this mobile phone. So now what is the characteristic? What first one we can say that mobile model, what is the model number, second on dial pad and the app. So these are the characteristics of the mobile phone, and the mobile phone is a real world object. Now we'll discuss about the behavior. We will discuss about the behavior. So what is the behavior shown by this mobile phone? It is used to talk, it is used to browse the internet, and it is used for internet banking. So now look students, we have seen that a real world object have some properties, and these properties can be considered as a characteristic, and also some behaviors that is known as the functions performed by the object mobile phone. Okay. Now after that we'll take one more example about the table. So the best example is about the table. So by looking the table, by looking this table, we can have some characteristic, means we can see what is the specification of the table. First specification, we can see that by looking the glass, by looking the surface glass, so now it has a plain glass top, it has a plain glass top. So this is the characteristic of the table. Now we can see by looking the table, we can see that what is the physical, it has a four leg, it has a four leg, and it is made up of wood, it is made up of wood. So these are the characteristic of the table, these are the characteristic of the table. Now about the behavior, if we talk, so we can see that it is used to keep the copies. Now look, what is the purpose, what is the function performed by the real world object table? So first one is that it is used to keep the copies and the book. Yes, it is used to keep the copies and book. And it is used for the study purpose. Yes, it is used for the study purpose also. And it is used to keep the glasses and the plates. Yes, so these are the behaviors shown by the object table. Now after that we will see that right now we have taken the example of two, that is first one is about the mobile phone. Okay, so these are the example of mobile phone. The second one is about the table. So look at these two example are belongs to the non-living thing. These two example belong to the non-living thing. Now broadly speaking, living things can also be considered as a real world object. So now right now we have taken the example of non-living thing. So broadly speaking, right now I'm saying that living things can be considered as a real world object. So now while considering this, while going to the situation that is real world object, we have to assume that each living individual has an object whose characteristic may be defined as their future. Now whose characteristics means we are talking about the future, we are talking about the future, and their behaviors may be defined as the role or the function they perform. Means what is the role or the perform they perform. So these can be considered under the real world object, that is living things. Now we can take the example, the best example is that the students. Students can be considered as a real world object. Students can be considered as a real world object. So now what is the characteristic of the students? So we can see that the students is as identified by his or her name. Yes, if we talk about this students, so now what is the characteristic? Means the students by having her name, we can say have some, we can identify her, we can identify her. So what, by having her name, by having her name we can identify her. Now second one that each student studies in a specific class. So now we will take that. So look here about the class. So this, the first one is about the name, and first one is about the name, and the second one is about the class, and third one is about the roll number. So these are the unique. Yes, these are the unique. Roll number is a unique, roll number is a unique number, and it has to be allotted each student, it has to be allotted to each student. Now look here, the name is unique. Now about the class where she is studying, this is also unique. So these are the characteristics, these are the characteristics from which we can identify her, we can identify her. Now if we talk about the behavior, if we talk about the behavior, that is the students. So she goes to the school. Yes, she goes to the school. So the what is the function performed by this object students? She goes to school, she goes to school. Now she appears for the examination. Yes, she appears for the examination, and she takes part in different competitions, she takes part in different competition. So from here we can see that we are talking about the behavior. Behavior means about the role or the function that they perform. So what is the role? Role is that she has to go to school, and what is the functions? She has to appear for the examinations, and she has to take part in different competitions. So look here, right now students, we have deal about the students, and in this here we've seen that the characteristic of the students are name, class, and the roll number, and the behavior we have seen that she goes to school means what is the function or what is the role she perform while going to the school. Now after that we are going to deal with the next term, that is what is software object. What is a software object? The software object may be defined as an object that is created while writing the Java program. So look here, right now real object, we have your studies about the real world object, real world object. Look students, this real world object cannot be used by the Java program now. So we have to convert this real world object into the software object, so that the program can deal with the real world object in place by using the concept of software object. Okay, so a software object may be defined as an object, that is created while writing the Java program. Yes, means what is the function, what is the use of this software object, so that we can have all the characteristic and the behavior of the real world object, and that can be used our program, that can be used to our program also. So a software object may be defined as an object that is created while writing the program, and the characteristic and the function. Right now we studied that about the real world object, so it has some characteristic and it has possess some behavior also. So look here, if you talk about the real world object and software object, so look here, the characteristic is referred to as data member, and the behavior is referred to as member method or member functions, okay, respectively. Now the object that is mobile and table and the students, which we have discussed about now, or the real world object. So look here, right now we have discussed the three examples about the mobile phone or the cell phone, about the table, and about the students. So these we have discussed, and these are the real world object. Now in fact a program does not deal with the real object. So look at this is a very good concept, that a program is not going to deal with the real object. Yes, a program is not going to deal with the real world object. So our software uses the concept of what? Software object. So we have to convert the real world object into software object. So what is the characteristic that is performed by the real world object has to be equal to or analogous to the data member, and the behavior that is shown by the real world object must be analogous to the function or method of the software object. Okay, now let us relate our software object, a real world object, with the software object. So now right now we study that the state or the characteristic of the real world object are considered as the data member of the software object. So look here, this object, this is the characteristic of the real world object is analogous to the data member of the software object. In the similar way, we can see that the behavior of the real world object is analogous to the function of the software object. Look students, so here we can see that the characteristic of the real world object are considered to as the data member of the software object, and the behavior in the real world object are referred to as the function or the method of the software object. Okay students, now hence we can see that from here we can see that a software object is a unique combination. So now from here we can see that what is software object? Software object is a unique combination of data member and the function or the method. So here we can see that it has a unique combination data member and the functions. Okay, now after that we are going to have a comparative study of the real world object and the software object. Means we are going to compare with the real world object and the software object. So now this book, the book is the example of real world object. So now what is the characteristic or the state of the object book? That is the how many chapters are it has, number of pages, and the topic. So these are the characteristic of the real world object. In the similar way, if we talk about the behavior, so what is the purpose of this book? That is, it is used to read and it is used to prepare notes. Okay, now if we talk about the object means this. Look students, students is a software object. Students is a software object. So we need the name, roll number, class, subjects, and the marks. So these are the data member of the software object students. And what is the function? That is it is used to accept and it is used to display. Now after that we will have a comparative study of the data member. We will have a comparative study of the real world object and the software object in terms of data member. So now look here, we can see that the chapters, the pages, and the topic, these are the characteristic of the real world object students. Now in the similar way we can see that the data member means you are talking about the variables. So now name, subject, and the marks, these are the data member of the software object students. After that we will deal about we will have a comparative study of the behavior and the functions. So look here, the behavior, that is the real world object book. So what is the purpose? That is, it is used to read, it is to prepare notes. So these are the behavior, or this is the function that is performed by the real world object, and that is book. Now if we talk about the functions, so what is the function? That is accept It is to accept and display. So these accept and display are the software object of the students, and these are the functions. These are the function and the member method of the software object students. Now, so from here we can see that what we have studied, students. Till now we studied what is object. Object is a unique entity. What is object? Object is a unique entity. Object is a unique entity which contains, object is a unique entity which contains data member, which contains a data member, and member method and member method. So what is object? Object is a unique entity which contains data member and member method together in an object oriented programming language. Together in an object oriented programming language. Thank you, students.